So if you're looking for a few different builds to play as an Affliction, Warlock, and Dragonflight Beta, these are the 3 different builds that I've been playing and looking at playing in dungeons and things coming up. So very briefly in the class tree here, Demonic Inspiration, Wrathful Minion are the 2 points you want to take up here. They are both indeed, I guess they both indeed increase sacrifice if you're playing a talent, if you stack your pet with them active. The other points here being Soul Conduit, Grimoire of Synergy, you take Inquisitor's Gaze and single target, Soul Keeper and AoE, and if you are playing Inevitable Demise as Affliction, the talent right here, you want to take Grim Feast. Grim Feast does not increase ID damage or drain life damage directly. However, it causes it to channel faster. Spells channeling faster means more spells being cast. Other spells more so. But either way, if you're playing ID, I recommend taking Grim Feast. So, as far as this build's concerned, I have 1 point left here for a reason. This is one of 2 dungeon builds that I want to start playing, looking at in the next few weeks here. So, I guess days here. So number 1, Rapture, going into Seed Corruption here. We're not taking Sow the Seeds. I'm going out on a limb here thinking that Sow might not be worthwhile right now playing this build. It's more focused around a Rapture. UA, we're going into obviously Instant Cast Corruption, Wrath and Agony, Harvester of Souls, Absolute Corruption, Vile Taint. We're grabbing Sacrilege here, obviously. 2 points in Soul Flame and 2 points in ID. Drain Soul, Soul Tap, Creeping Death, Dark Lair, going on to, Dark Lair, Eye Beam Increase, and getting Grim Reach, and then full Soul Rot in this row here. Now, the reason I am not taking this, and the reason I have 1 point left as well, is that Soul Flame was buffed considerably today. Apparently, it hits really, really hard. I haven't even played with it yet, but I've wanted to find a build that has both ID with Soul Rot and Soul Eater's Gluttony, for basically every half minute you have this huge max stack ID you can drain 5 mobs down with, plus having access to Soul Flame. So I want to test with this, but I've heard it's doing a lot of damage in AoE. So we went and said, hey, you know what? We're going to forego Soul. Now, the upside, one more talent point to play with. The downside, maybe certain packs, if it's a bit spread out, the actual Seed Explosion might not cleave every mob. Got to play with it, see where it goes. So we have 1 point left here, though. Now, your options are Sacrifice, Haunt, Tormented Crescendo, or Wrath Consumption. Now, ID is increased by Wrath. This is more dot-based, more single target. More of like a middle ground kind of thing. Probably it's worse than Haunt and single target, and probably worse than this in like dot sustained AoE. And Sack. Sack's also pretty good. It's better than having a pet out now damage wise. I'd opt for either Sack or Haunt here. Probably Sack at this point and see where it goes. So this is build number 1, more of the Soul Rot, Grim Reach, Dark Lair build. Now build number 2 is sort of similar. You end up going into Haunt, into Seize Vitality, Haunted Soul, and putting points in Malefic Afflictions, and a point into Doom Blossom. And you have 1 point left to put wherever you'd like. Once again, you can put it in Dark Lair, obviously here. Pretty much, there you go. This gives you more of a sustained, like, AoE kind of build in a sense. Whenever you can cast Raptures and get 3 stacks of this up, and then Rapture past that, well, I guess getting 3 stacks of this, and then having Corruption ticking past that gives you a 30% chance, essentially, for Corruption to essentially tick on every mob, which is pretty strong in a sustained AoE or cleave-based setting. If you're in a heroic dungeon and mobs dying in 4 seconds, this build's probably pretty subpar. But the good thing about this build, much more single target damage, Creeping Death, Malefic Afflictions, Doom Blossom, Haunt, Haunted Soul. So this is more of like a single target / consistent sustained AoE kind of build versus the build over here with this tree, and this tree being more, I've got burst damage every half a minute with Soul Rot, with Vile Taint, with Soul Eater's Gluttony. But either way, 2 very good options when it comes to AoE. Now, if you're looking at more of a single target build, this is the actual build that I've been playing. Very similar to the actual build we just saw for AoE, but the big change here, we're not playing Soul Flame, obviously. We're playing Siphon Life, Phantom Singularity, and we're playing Dread Touch. Dread Touch says whenever you stack this to 3, every Rapture past then gives you a 6-second buff that increases dot duration by 20%. This makes your dots hit hard. This makes your Rapture and this makes UA your number 1 damage-based effect. This makes your PS and your Siphon Life and your Corruption, your Agony all hit a good bit harder. And the gist of this rotation is more or less to try and maintain this buff as much as you can, even outside of Rapture windows, and then try and have shards also for that Rapture window every 45 seconds. Now, I have indeed said we're not playing Soul Tap. This ability has been incredibly underwhelming in raid testing. 8% of a shield is a lot more than 5 when they nerfed it a few weeks ago. And honestly, there's a lot of consistent damage from bosses in Vault of the Incarnate. So I've opted to not take Soul Tap. In Mythic Plus, yeah, I think it's fine, pretty good. But in single target, this is the build that I've been looking to play. Sack's been strong. Obviously, you went Dark Lair. And it's put up a pretty solid number overall. Not as strong as Demo, essentially, but still a very strong option in single target. And once again, we are playing Grim Feast because of ID. Overall, a very good place to start if you're looking at playing some single target Aff and Dragonflight.